Welcome to the Betting Above the Rim podcast. Today's date, September 24th, episode 179 of the Betting Above the Rim podcast. And before we get started, this is my first appearance on the network when we got the terrible news over the weekend that we lost a friend, a colleague in Dave Sharapan. Dave is someone that when I came to this network in 2021, really took me under his wing, kind of taught me the ways of sports gambling. Got to remember, folks, I'm a basketball coach by trade. So Dave kind of took me in and kind of explained the book and the numbers and how it works and point spreads and why things move and baking in 2.5 points for a home game. And the talk of him mentoring me became a friendship. And this has been a hard couple of days for all of us at Sports Grid, but we want to make sure we send out our condolences and my condolences to his wife Jess and the 3 girls. Rest in peace to not just one of the best handicappers of all time, but one of the best people I've ever been around. Rest in peace to our good friend Dave Sharapan. Let's try and go on with the show with our tip-off topics. Leading off with SBrondello, the head coach of the New York Liberties. Contract was not renewed for the 2026 season. And this is something, if we get ready to roll the tape, I actually predicted this a couple of weeks ago. Speaking of the season, what in the heck has gotten to the New York Liberty? A team that started 9-0, just last night scored, ready for this, 58 points and a 66-58 loss to the Valkyries. This team is a hot mess. Stewie's shooting her worst three-point shooting percentage of her career. Sab is not scoring the three-point line as well as she usually does. Jonquel Jones, Messerman, is not working out. Clout, good, bad. They miss Benaja, Laney, Hamilton. But I'm going to say this, folks. If the Liberty get knocked out, if they get knocked out in the first round of playoffs, and right now they're the 5 seed in the WNBA playoffs, you will see possibly SBrondello go from being a championship coach to a fired coach. And I think that is something that I kind of looked at, and you really dig deeper into the New York Liberty. Listen, SBrondello, 107-53 in 4 years. I mean, that is unbelievable. But when she got there year 1, 16-20, they went and got Breanna Stewart. Everything changed at that point. They went and got Jonquel Jones, and they really had that triple threat monster team. That second year, they lost in the WNBA Finals, 3-1 against the Las Vegas Aces. Year 3, they finally get over the top hump, and you can question whether they should have won the title with that foul call late in Game 5 that sent Breanna Stewart to the foul line. And then it was this year. Breanna Stewart, worst shooting three-point percentage of her career. Sabrina Ionescu, worst three-point shooting percentage of her career. Right? You bring in Messerman, did not work the way they thought it was. Natasha Cloud, big free agent signing, didn't work. Right? They were never the same after Jonquel went down. Jonquel Jones was averaging a double-double and really didn't play what we thought out of Jonquel. So we'll talk about, at the end of the show, my off-season guide for the New York Liberty, because it's going to be pretty interesting because that job is going to be coveted as SBrondello was let go. Well, you know who was not let go? That's Natalie Nakase, who got named, and I actually pronounced it right, unlike our WNBA commissioner, got named WNBA Coach of the Year. Literally, I'm going to say 30 minutes after my producer Matt George and I recorded our last episode, and we called it. And it was an easy award. I know people were looking at Smesco and some of the other coaches, the coach of the Phoenix Mercury, but what Natalie did with this team that was supposed to be predicted at over under 8.5 wins what was nothing short of miraculous. She got the team to play in a way because they weren't as offensively gifted to lean on your defense. And as a coach, I always appreciate that. Defense should always be your absolute. And if you defend at a high level, you're always going to give yourself a chance to win. And that's what she did. Even when they lost Kayla Thornton, everybody thought that that team was done. The way, that she got Veronica Burton to kind of step her game up, where she was the most improved player. It was an amazing accomplishment by what Natalie Nakase did this past year. And the fact that that building was sold out every game, and just the effort that they gave in game number 2, losing by 1 to the Minnesota Lynx, congratulations to Natalie Nakase, who was named Coach of the Year of the WNBA. Speaking of the Minnesota Lynx, they got some injury concerns where Denasia Carrington is out with the season with a mid left foot sprain that she suffered in game number 2 versus the Valkyries. And I thought that this was a sneaky, and I talked about this on this network, that this was a sneaky trade that they made mid-season. Because what Carrington allowed Cheryl Reeve to do is allow Kayla McBride to now focus on being the 3 where she can knock down shots. Now she's got to go back and be one of the best defenders on the team. Yes, they are very good. Yes, they are very talented. But we've seen some blips, you would say, with the Minnesota Lynx, especially with this playoff series with the Phoenix Mercury. Denasia Carrington out for the rest of the season with a left foot sprain. MVP. Asia Wilson, 4th career one. I've been so amazed at how Asia really just turned it on in that back half of the year. If you remember, and I'm just keep going back to things I said in previous episodes, I said Alyssa Thomas because I couldn't give it to Nafisha Collier. Because of the fact that in the second half of the year when they were hurt, Minnesota still played exceptionally well. You combine that with the way that the Aces went from the 7th seed to the 2 seed, won, 17 games in a row, I think it was? It was the fact that Asia Wilson played like the best player in the world. And when she plays like that, that's how you win 17 straight games. And you're most likely going to win the WNBA championship. Coming up next, we'll go to another tip-off topics. We'll go to the NBA. Fred VanVleet. We'll talk about that impact of him getting hurt. We'll talk about Tyler Hero being hurt. We'll take a look at also college basketball with Bruce Pearl stepping down at Auburn. We'll be back with our second part of the tip-off topics after this commercial break. Welcome back to the Betting Above the Rim podcast, episode 179. Let's get into our second half of our tip-off topics. A little bit of basketball potpourri. Leading off with a major injury for the Rockets. Fred VanVleet just suffered in off-season workouts a torn ACL, which potentially will have him out for the entire season. Rockets team. The team total went from, I believe, 55.5 to 52.5 with Fab Five Freddie getting hurt. And when you really think about Fred VanVleet, just pulling up his stats last year, 14.1 points per game, 34.5% from three, but he was just really the point guard, like the leader, the veteran presence of a Rockets team that just added Kevin Durant. So where do we go with Houston? You're not going to give the job to Aaron Holiday to start at the point. So it's one of two things. It was something that my producer, Matt George, and I were talking before taping. Do you move Reed Shepard to the one? And then, fix your starting lineup? Put Jabari Smith in the starting lineup with Şengün, with KD, with, Thompson? Or, what I think you do is I think you start Thompson at the point. He's strong enough defensively, obviously he can guard points. I meant guard 1 through 5. He's an exceptional passer and he's got great sight lines and vision. And he should have enough scoring around him, whether it's Shepard at the 2, KD, Jabari Smith now goes back into the starting lineup with Şengün. You should have enough guys, Tari Eason off the bench, Josh Okogie off the bench. Maybe Josh Okogie starts, I don't know. But anyway you slice or dice, this is major news for a team that I said going into the year was the biggest threat to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now you got to look at it's Oklahoma City 1, and now Denver is the second best team in the West. Maybe Minnesota, Clippers, maybe it's the Rockets. But either way, breaking news and devastating news for the Houston Rockets, as Fred VanVleet is out most likely for the season. Speaking of injury concerns, let's head to South Beach and Tyler Hero, who now is going to miss significant time after going through surgery on his left ankle. And it's really interesting for a Miami Heat team that we're getting to the point, I think we could say the window is closed. But I was struggling with, are they making the playoffs this year? No disrespect to Spo. Everybody knows how I feel about Eric Spoelstra. But now you're looking at, between the trade deadline and this year, Tyler Hero hurt, Jimmy Butler traded. A lot of pressure goes on to Andrew Wiggins. Someone that's been talked about being traded. Puts a lot of pressure on Bam Adebayo. Puts a lot of pressure on Scary Terry. It's a big reason why Miami, in my opinion, even before this injury, was third best in the Southeast Division behind Orlando and Atlanta. I actually think Charlotte's going to be better than people think. Big injury news out of South Beach as Tyler Hero is going to be out for the year. And I'm really starting to look at Miami not making the playoffs. Major news out of college basketball yesterday as Bruce Pearl stepped down as the head coach at Auburn. 463 career with D1 wins. 4-time SEC Coach of the Year. Remember, he coached at Tennessee before this. 2 Final Four appearances. A fantastic basketball coach. There will be a lot of talk about what Bruce Pearl brought to the table off the court. The scandals he's been involved in, from Tennessee to when he was an assistant at Iowa. I'm not going to get into it. It's 2025, folks. It's the internet. You can go read it. You can be the judge. I will just say this. Bruce Pearl was a really, and still is, an excellent basketball coach. His son takes over. Well, who else are you going to name? The coach. He's already on the bench. He was an assistant. And it's September. So did Bruce Pearl step down knowing that this late in the game, no one else could be named as coach but his son? By the way, rumors have his son had got a 5-year deal for over $2 million a year. By the way, son was not coaching college basketball 11 years ago. That's how new he is to the sport. But this is more about Bruce. Congratulations to Bruce Pearl, who is retiring from Auburn men's basketball. You know who's not retiring? Paige Beckers. And the rookie of the year has joined Unrivaled. I think Unrivaled, I do believe, picked up another team or two. I do believe. Remember, the valuation went up to $253 million for a league that really is going to put pressure on the WNBA in regards to negotiations. The big thing to watch for is they got other players. Sonia Citron, I think, is joining. Kiri Iriafen is joining. Can they get Caitlin Clark? That is the big fish that they're going to need to get in order to really get more eyeballs on the set. Lastly, Carol Lawson got named the head coach of the women's national team. It's the same Carol Lawson who was an Olympic member in 2008. Same Carol Lawson's done a really good job at Duke, making it a top 20 team. Maybe they could have won with other people, but Carol Lawson is damn qualified, and she was an assistant to Cheryl Reeve on the 2024 team that won the Olympic gold medal. Congratulations to Coach Lawson. Coming up next, we'll do some off-season previews talking about the 3 teams that got knocked out in the last week of the WNBA playoffs. We'll look at the Golden State Valkyries. We'll look at the Atlanta Dream. We'll look at the New York Liberty. What is next for those 3 teams in 3 different stages? We'll be back with our off-season preview after this commercial break. Welcome back to the Betting Above the Rim podcast, episode 179. Let's get into an off-season guide. As teams have been eliminated or knocked out of the WNBA playoffs, we'll take a look at teams off-season. What do I think as a coach they need to do? Let's start with the Golden State Valkyries, who came into this year with an overall their win total of 8.5. 23-21 record. We talked about, obviously, Natalie Nakase winning Coach of the Year. We talk about Veronica Burton winning Most Improved. It probably would have went to Kayla Thornton if she didn't tear her ACL during the season. Interesting times here for Golden State because Tiffany Hayes, free agent. Kayla Thornton, free agent. Monique Billings, free agent. Veronica Burton, restricted free agent. You know, so you look at Janelle Salon, who actually had a really good stretch at the end of the year shooting the ball from 3. The Valkyries need to make sure that, number one, most importantly, they got to get back Thornton and they got to get back Burton. They become the most critical pieces. They'll have Kate Martin come back on the roster. So to them, they have to worry about getting those 2, and they continue to build off of that. They got a great coach. They got a great fan base. If they can get those 2 to come back, and remember, they still have, obviously, picks, and I do believe in all 3 rounds of the WNBA draft, look for this team to continue to not even be a bright spot next year. Look for them to be, in my opinion, one of the 5 best teams in the WNBA. That's mainly because of their coach. Let's head to, speaking of the top 10 teams, let's head to the Atlanta Dream, a team that's over on their win total was 21.5 and had 30 wins, ended up 3rd in the WNBA. Brittany Griner, unrestricted free agent. Brianna Jones, unrestricted free agent. Jordan Canada, unrestricted free agent. Alicia Gray, unrestricted free agent. Right? Ryan Howard, restricted. Naz Hillman, restricted. Right? So Carl Smesco did such a great job in that offensive system. Right? They were really good. Obviously with those double bigs of Griner and Jones, best rebounding team in the league. Passed the ball really well. So where do they go? To me, you have to look at the bigs. Do you bring back Griner or Jones? I think Gray, Ryan Howard, Hillman, those are slam dunks. Those three have to come back. That's that core that they need, the young core. They have to figure out what they're going to do with Brianna Jones versus Brittany Griner. I never thought that Brittany Griner was going to go there. It was a pleasant surprise. But something tells me if you're going to pick one, you're going to pick Brianna Jones. Let's head to New York with the New York Liberty, who really disappointed. Over on the win total of 32.5. Folks, when they were 9-0 before Jonquel got hurt, this was a slam dunk. Ended up with 27-17. Number one, they need to get a new coach. It'll be interesting to see where they go. Do they go to college ranks, like how Smesco went to Atlanta, or obviously the head coach at Sparks, another college coach? I think she was at Utah. Or do they go try to get a big assistant like a Nakase, like how they got her from the Aces? Or do they try and go get a home run? Whether it's Becky Hammond, who played for the Liberty, right? Teresa Weatherspoon, who got ran out of Chicago in less than half a year and had that team playing really well. Did they go to the college game? Did they try to find someone that's connected to either Enescu or Stewie? Speaking of Enescu and Stewie, both are unrestricted free agents. Jonquel Jones, free agent. Cloud, free agent. Kennedy Burke, free agent. Messman, free agent. Rebecca Gardner, free agent. Johannes, reserved. And obviously, suspended contracts for Benaja Laney Hamilton. Then they have to get back as many people as they can from this roster. I'm going to say something that was said to me by a good friend of mine. The person that the Liberty missed the most this year, and one of the most indispensable players on that roster, was Benaja Laney Hamilton. I think if Benaja Laney Hamilton was playing this year with their toughness and three-point shooting, the Liberty would still be in the playoffs. This has been your Betting Above the Rim podcast for September 24th. For all things sports gambling, download that Sports Grid app. Pre-game, in-game, post-game, props, predictions, and more from the very best in the sports gambling industry. For my producer, Matty George, who always does a great job, thanks for listening, folks. And always remember, it's smarter to be on Sports Grid. Good night.